Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully you've all had a happy Monday so far. Today we're going to be diving into our daily cryptocurrency market update. We're going to start off really like we do on every update by reiterating our bias that we still think this market eventually is going to see further downside. However, we are intraday trading at the moment and looking for that swing to the downside that we will be swing trading, we'll be shorting that. But right now, I do feel, and we shared a number of things on Twitter yesterday in regards to targets that we were looking at on an intraday level. We closed our longs and now are looking to reopen longs, as I think this market is going to see on the short term more upside. But we're going to get into all that. I'm also going to be playing, because lots of people are very skeptic in regards to technical analysis and range trading. But we're going to show you that it works, because if you look at the result that we got from range trading this, and bearing in mind we don't have a bias in the sense that we don't care whether it goes up or down at the moment. We're range trading and looking to open shorts and longs depending on what way the market, essentially the feedback that the market is giving us. Right now we're biased to the upside, and that's our overall bias on the short term. But if we start to break levels, we'll very quickly switch to shorts. So we closed our longs out yesterday. We'll show you where we closed those longs based on these ranges and show you just how accurate, bearing in mind we drew these ranges before any price movement had confirmed the suspicions that we had. But what we'll do is we'll rewind the chart and really show you what took place after, and that these levels were key, and talk about where we got the levels from and everything else. We'll also look at the overall market, go into a little bit of the world events. We've currently got, I think, Davos at the moment. And I know there's a lot of crypto people there. We'll also maybe talk about the whole Daquan sharing a Luna burn address, because the whole Luna situation is really just very embarrassing at the moment. And you can tell that they've completely lost control over their project. They're talking about, rebranding it to Luna 2. Also talking about people being able to send their Luna to a burn address, which I think is insane to even have shared that burn address, because people don't want to burn. What's the point in burning your Luna that you've already been burnt on? Anyway, so we'll get into it all. First of all, reiterating our bias, we still think we come down to these long-term regression bands for Bitcoin to the bottom, just like we have previously, and then we will establish what it looks like here, whether we think we're going to go a bit lower, which there is definitely the scope for, or whether this may provide adequate support. It's currently around about your sort of 23k range. We've also got the 200-week moving average that we're looking at around about this range here. And this is somewhere where potentially we are going to start loading up on not just Bitcoin, but altcoins. We're putting together a paid membership group that I previously spoke about. I've been spending a lot of time creating Google documents that you guys will get access to, where we're essentially looking to really capitalize on this market moving forwards. And we've chosen a variety of altcoins, different tiers. So we have your blue chips, and then we have your more speculative plays. So blue chips that I think stand a good chance of doing something like a 10x as this market progresses and we move away from this sticky patch and go back onto a risk on environment that is going to be accommodated by monetary policy. But right now, we do still see the scope for further downside. And of course, we're going to play that accordingly, look to swing trade that, and take intraday trades as the market gives us feedback. So that's the play. In terms of where we're at, we're looking at this level down here. That's where I think we're going at least, and I do see scope for more downside. It all really depends on the macro situation and just how bad or not so bad that gets. But I do think markets are due for somewhat of a pullback in regards. And what I will do is also look at dollar dominance, which could support some sort of and when I say pullback, I mean advancement forwards, a pullback from the downtrend. So some sort of a relief rally is probably the best thing to call it. The DXY potentially could support that as it's having a bit of a rest. And also we're going to take a look at how the ES futures opened yesterday, the S&P futures. The FTSE is seeing a bit of a green day. Does the stock market have a bit of relief as well? And that's going to be very accommodating to our cryptocurrency market. So what I want to do is I want to talk about intraday trading. It's something that many of you guys are probably not familiar with, but it's very interesting, and I want to really show you. And also this is going to tie into why I actually think and believe you're going to see more upside for BTC in the short term. So these were the levels that we put on in yesterday's tweet. If you're not already following me on Twitter, guys, at Real All In Crypto is my Twitter. We essentially said, look, we're biased upside on Sunday, and we're looking to trade either to the short or the long side, and these are your levels. And I just want to show you how this played out, because people don't give much confidence to TA. However, in my opinion, it does work and is actually quite a useful tool. So if we go back to yesterday and where we were at, you can see these are the levels that we drew, and we were essentially around this midpoint. And I want to show you how we interacted with these levels and how that kind of looked like playing out. And then I'll talk about why I'm actually biased to more upside, and then we'll get into a little bit of the news. So if we play the chart, you can see target 1 met. Where do you come back and retest? You retest that target zone. That gives me confluence, diversion, bounce off your EMA. That gives me confluence that you're then going to get to that next target. When you sort of hold the first one, you find support off it. See, target 2 met. You're out at that trade, and then you look for further confluence. And if you look at where we are now residing, ladies and gentlemen, it's back up at these targets. You can see, and you can see actually where you bounce and where you interact on these target levels. And this is what we're looking for moving forwards. We will get rid of that. One thing that I want to stress, and we'll drop to a slightly longer time frame than the 5 minute, is this market to me seems like it wants to come up and actually, you know, get back into what was previously an accumulation range. So this is where we're looking at. We'll maybe switch to the 4 hours so we get a bit more retail. We want this market, for me to get a confident swing trade, I want this market to come back into this green box, starting at round about anywhere from really sort of 33, 32k-ish, all the way up to potentially 36. So I think you're going to do a similar thing to what we previously did over here. After we've seen a huge trend exhaustion, lots of sell pressure, you know, the people that wanted to sell probably have sold, and people will actually be looking to not only swing trade this to the upside, but you'll have many bottom callers and people will want a rally, and that's why I think you're largely going to get it. And this has been a target that we spoke about previously, and we've had people on the show to talk about it. And also, you know, you can see you've got this accumulation range over here that I think we get back up into after running a key level before we set up for more downside. And going back to the smaller time frames, we really want to look at, you know, what's going on right now within this range. For me personally, we've had 1 touch to the upside, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touches, and now 5 touches, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch to the downside. So this market, in my opinion, is telling me that there's more, there's definitely huge resistance here, but there's more momentum to the upside than there is the downside. You don't want to bet against momentum, and this market, having done, you know, quite a significant pullback, and I still think there's scope for more, is likely, in my opinion, to start trading into this range. You can see we've already got the range level here. You put a mid-range somewhere like here, potentially, and then we'll see what happens accordingly. So if we start doing a similar thing to what we did yesterday and start taking levels and holding them, you know, this is going to sort of bring us back into the zones that we have set out. And I want to show you the volume by price. Some people don't like using volume by price indicator, but I think it's actually quite a good one. If you look at your volume by price throughout this sort of over a yearly range now, you can see that it actually puts you around about this point here, which was a prior support, and has actually played quite a significant support previously. And I would certainly like to see, you know, we do want to open that short Bitcoin coming back here. It's probably potentially not going to do it in that sort of a manner that we've drawn, but something like here, you maybe do something where you grind up within this range, and then we look for invalidation to the downside to ride this to our potentially lower targets, and then we'll sort of keep you up to date accordingly. And of course, you know, we've got those sort of macro long-term regression bands and EMAs that we're looking at to maybe look to get long at, depending on what the market conditions are at that point. But things seem to be somewhat progressing. Remember, this can change in an instant. Even though we are expecting somewhat of a pullback to the upside, it doesn't have to happen. And previously, you know, we have seen after a sort of trend exhaustion and a smashing of this midway point, a return move before then you sort of bleed out lower. And that's what we're looking for within this market. And certainly, you know, altcoins are probably more likely going to be what we're going to trade to the upside, because there's a lot higher beta and a lot more percentages to actually be had to both the up and the downside. And I don't think it's too out of the realms of possibility to see a move up for the likes of Ethereum and that on the back end of Bitcoin. The dollar, the DXY, is probably going to be quite supportive of this and currently has been, given the fact that it ran a significant level and is now having a pullback and a rest period from that. The things that you've got to watch is monetary tightening has not really started, and that is going to weigh heavily on markets. There's also lots of fears that we're entering a recession, and how does Bitcoin and crypto hold up in that kind of a situation? And it comes to a very... you need to be very sort of real life about this. If people are hurt in the pockets, they're not going to be as fruitful in regards to putting money into markets. They're not going to be as forthcoming when it comes to putting money into markets. Everyone's going to be pinched, and you're going to have less of a bid and less fruitful individuals actually throwing money into markets. You've got to remember that March 2020 saw huge stimulus enter markets, and that was supportive for the move that we got. And now we're at the other end of that and facing a very different environment. And these are all things that you need to take into consideration. Got a number of altcoins that we're looking to short. We really want to get this membership group up this week, hopefully. Some things that we'll be involved in it. We'll do different tiers. We'll, of course, incorporate Discord. We'll have a weekly newsletter, which should give you guys the hit that you need on a Monday morning moving forwards into the coming week, covering everything that's gone on prior and what we're looking at moving forwards. Also, we'll do a Discord where I'll share my daily thoughts, and we'll do different tiers that give you different access to material that I've put together in regards to, you know, where I'm looking to accumulate altcoins, altcoin accumulation ranges, and also what altcoins I'm looking to accumulate. So we're not just going after blue chips, we're going after altcoins that are built on top of these layer one protocols that I think not only have amazing people backing them like Coinbase and Binance and all these other big firms and institutions, but are actually interesting projects that have very small market caps that I think could do extremely well into the future. Of course, it's all very speculative, and the smaller the altcoin, the riskier it is. But there is criteria that you need to look at, you know, moving forward. So this is really where we're at. We've reiterated our bias. We are going to look for more upside in this market. However, that could turn very quickly. Some key things to watch, of course, is your equity market, because we're very tethered. Bad day on the equity market typically is going to equal a bad day for the cryptocurrency market. If we take a look at the ES today, you know, you can see that we are having a little bit of a green day, but there is a wick to the upside coming off the back end of this. Let's drop down some time frames. You can see you broke a trend. You're coming up. You need to get above this prior trend line, ascending support, for me to start to get, you know, some sort of a positive feel that we're going to get that continuation. But remember, this is just the future, as we've still got the S&P and of course the Nasdaq to open. We are expecting ultimately more downside for these, which is going to correlate with the cryptocurrency market. But there's no, and it's very plausible that they get a rally before we get that downtrend. You know, and the equity market is very, very good at double bottoming, guys. Before you get some sort of confluence to the upside. Can you see how, you know, it really likes to double bottom before you get a further move? But ultimately, I do think this gets killed off given the environment that we're currently in. So that's how we're looking at crypto. We do have longs on Ethereum, Bitcoin, Rune, and a number of others that we put on yesterday. However, you know, these were on since yesterday and of course are already in the green. If you're looking at them now, you know, you really want to look for potential previous resistance now acting as support. So if we look at, for me, an optimal entry would be maybe some sort of move back down here. You know, you hold it confidently and then you see that continuation. So don't just market buy if you are going to trade this market. And I also would recommend that right now, 92% of you don't do anything. You just look for, if you want to swing trade it to the downside, of course, be my guest, but also, you know, really what you should be doing is getting your investment hat on, looking into certain projects and going, okay, these are going to be huge in the future. Let's wait until they get into a decent accumulation zone and have seen lower prices before we accumulate comfortably for the market recovery. Because this market will recover, guys. It is only going to go one way, and we just go through these boom and bust cycles in the cryptocurrency market that are ever changing. You know, we followed a 4-year cycle theory. I still think we follow that to a degree, but I think the pullbacks aren't so drawn out in regards to being 2 years. I think they're more sort of snappy. You know, we've essentially just gone sideways. We see that downside, and then we get that further upward continuation. If you take it off the log chart, you know, you can see what we've got going on here. And ultimately, you know, we then do see that continuation, and you know, it's very plausible, I think, if Bitcoin got to 60k, that eventually we will get to 100k and so on and so forth. Certainly as adoption continues. Talking about adoption, we do have Davos at the moment, where there are going to be many crypto firms. I know Ripple is there, and a number of others. PayPal looks to embrace all possible crypto and blockchain services. PayPal is in trouble right now and are probably going to do anything they can to innovate. Daquan sharing a Luna burn address I felt was very irresponsible. And he also said that he didn't recommend people use it, but also why. To clarify, as I've noted multiple times, I don't think sending tokens to this address to burn is a good idea. Nothing happens except you lose your tokens. Want there to be no confusion whatsoever. Why even post a burn address? I mean, you know, it just needs to stop now and basically, you know, face the consequences of his actions. And it's not the first time Daquan's actually tried to do a stablecoin project. So that's really all I've got for you. Rather a long-winded one, just a lot to cover. We're still playing for the downside on a swing trade, but we will look to take intraday trades to both the up and the downside as market data sort of guides us, if you will. So that's really it, guys. Lots going on the world stage, but we're probably going to leave that because you guys probably have enough to think about so far. So that's it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. If you've enjoyed this content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. Watch out on this channel and on my Twitter for an announcement. Remember, please watch the scammers in the comment section, guys. We don't ask you to contact us. Certainly in the comment section with a WhatsApp number or anything of the sort. They are complete scams and impersonators. And ultimately, you know, when we do launch the paid membership group, we will absolutely, you know, direct you and do a video explaining it all. All I've got for you in this one, guys. Have a fantastic Monday, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video.